Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode on the show. Control or Be Controlled, a podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Today's guest is Larry Robertson. He's passionate. He's a global leadership advisor who has spent more than 3 decades helping leaders make better decisions, build stronger teams, and create lasting impact. His clients have included CEOs, presidents, board chairs, entrepreneurs, government leaders, and executives in over 30 countries, with his work contributing to more than $9 billion in new business growth. Larry, welcome to the show.
Darlington, hello. And hello to your listeners.
All right, Larry. So I have some questions here for you, and I would like us to get into them. Okay, so you have worked with leaders around the world for over 30 years. What separates truly exceptional leaders from those who simply hold leadership title?
That's a great question, Darlington. Thank you. To me, it's not about position. It's about disposition. In other words, it's about how you behave, your mindset, your attitude as a leader, not just simply being in the role and expecting people to do as you tell them. After all, we all have choices. And we don't have to listen to anybody. We don't have to follow anybody. We all have to earn a living, I guess. We all have to have a job of some kind and pay for bills. But we don't have to give our all to people in charge, put it that way. And so I say to leaders, if you want people to follow you, if you want 100% of them, you need to give 100% of you. And that means attitudinally 100%, who you really are, in terms of what you believe, how you feel, your courage, your vulnerabilities, obviously your competence, of course. But I want to get a sense of your character. Who are you as a human being? I say to people, I want more of your human being, not just your human doing. So more being, less doing. So I want to know who you are. I want to see how you behave, how you engage, how you connect. Do you make me as a follower, as one of your team, do you make me feel valued, appreciated? Are you listening to me? Do you understand what matters to me, what I'm concerned about, what my motivations are? So that's the who and the how. And then the third one is the what. What are we actually going to do together? What are your plans? Do you have a plan? What is the outcome or the vision for that plan? How will we get there? And what will that mean for me? Where do I fit in here? And how do I contribute? And how do I develop and gain from that? So basically it comes down to 3 things. Who are you, really? How do you engage? How do you behave? How do you come across? What is the emotional connection, if you like? And what are we actually going to do together?
All right, thank you so much. So, my next question is, you often say leadership isn't about authority, it's about responsibility. Why is that distinction so important?
Yeah. Yes. Let me talk about that. So, leaders have a job to do, of course. And leadership is really about change. Ultimately, it's about change. We're going to change things, hopefully, for the better. And whether it's a small micro change or a macro change, it's some sort of change in the business, in the environment. You were talking to somebody, a charity leader, I think, earlier. Then, what is the change there that can improve their charity, can improve the people they support, and how can they improve their fundraising and operations and so forth? That requires leadership. But that leader, or those leaders, are then responsible for making that change happen. It won't happen just by osmosis or by chance or by accident. Leaders have to make it happen, and they're responsible for that. And if they fail in that job, they need to be accountable. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They might accept the responsibility, but then, or see that somewhere in their contract. But somehow or other, the accountability, when things go wrong, they're very slow to put up their hand. Politicians are the worst at this. I'm sure in your country, same in this country, in every country I'm familiar with, politicians are the worst at being accountable when things go wrong. So they might accept the responsibility to do something, but they then don't deliver, and they're not accountable.
All right. So, in today's fast-changing world, what leadership habits are becoming obsolete and what should replace them?
So I didn't quite. So you said leaders becoming obsolete, did you say?
Yes. So I said, in today's changing world, what leadership habits are becoming obsolete and what should replace
All right.
them?
I see. Sorry, the habits. Yeah, got you. I didn't hear that. Thank you very much, Darlington. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I think we think that somehow in this technical world we live in now, whether it's AI or some other technical system, at the end of the day, leadership's about humans, and so if we're going to be run by AI or by automatons or avatars, that's not leadership. That'll be management. We'll be managed. We'll be told what to do. We'll be measured and so forth. That's management, and that's fine. We need management, but leadership ultimately is about human beings. It's about people persuading people to come with them on a journey. And as I've just said, we don't have to come, and that's an emotional decision. There's obviously some logic in it too, of course, but ultimately it's how we feel. Do we trust? Do we trust the individual? Do we feel respected, as I said earlier? And is it clear where we're going? Now, AI, as far as I'm aware, cannot create emotions. It can talk about emotions, but it can't create, it can't actually get one involved, if you like. It can't inspire. It can't understand really who we are, in my experience. And so leadership will always require a connection between human beings. Human beings will make decisions. Ultimately, human beings will make judgments, and people will decide on the question of trust. And that the big problem that we're facing today is, what do we trust, for example, in the media, social media? What do we trust when we see the media? And so trust is absolutely critical. Understanding who we're dealing with, how they're coming across, how they make us feel, that's it, and what are we going to do together? So I don't think that a lot of the current leadership attributes or skill sets or tasks will change that much. All that leaders need to be able to do, and depending on what sort of leader, but is to be more savvy, more conscious, more aware, more knowledgeable around the use of technology and, of course, AI. And how do we use AI for the good?
Okay, thank you so much. So, many organizations struggle with trust. What's the fastest way for a leader to lose it, and how can they earn it back?
It's a love. Oh, Darlington, what a great question. Yeah, great question. So I think the first way to lose trust is no different if we were at home. We just don't tell the truth. We make a mistake. We don't own up. We say we'll do one thing. We do something else. I mean, a good example would be most businesses have some sort of code of conduct, some sort of value system or value statement, maybe a purpose statement. If the leaders of that business and that enterprise, could be a big business, could be a small business. If the leaders are not doing what it says on the bit of paper, what it says on the wall, what it says in the annual report in terms of observing those values, adhering to the purpose, living to the code of conduct, then we're not going to trust them. So, in other words, it's lack of congruence, lack of consistency between what we say and what we do, I guess, or what we expect, what people expect of you and what you do. So that's the first thing. It obviously lies and the like. And I just said earlier, politicians are a good example of people who don't accept accountability, don't own up when they make mistakes, seem to be find it very hard to apologize or admit they've made a mistake. But one way to recover trust is to apologize, is to own up, is to say, I stuffed up. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. I had a CEO years ago who ran a company made annual profit around $5 billion US. And and they were a technology company. This is 20 odd years ago, and they made a big investment in a technology business in Asia, and they lost almost $2 billion. So they lost not far off half their annual profit. And when I was talking to him about this and helping him prepare for his briefing to the investors and the analysts and the stock market, there was very, very small mention, very little mention made of this $2 million. It was sort of passed over. And I said, well, hang on. I think we need to be talking about it a bit more openly than that to whoever it was. And I think first of all, people want to know, well, what happened? Why did it happen? How did it go wrong? And what will you do about it in the future? In other words, how can you give us your confidence that you're not going to make the same mistake again? This is shareholders' funds, shareholders' money. You are losing. You've lost. And so I got into terrible trouble with the investor relations people because the CEO, I won't bore you with the detail, but the CEO did eventually take my advice. And in front of all these analysts and investors, about 200 of them, he said, yeah, we made a mistake. We got it wrong. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. He spent about 5 minutes talking about that $2 billion loss, which he was going to spend about 15 seconds. And the share price recovered. The share price actually went up almost 10% in the next 2 or 3 days. And the media were quite kind to him, which is unusual because they had not been kind to him in the past. So, but the investor relations, the communications, the lawyers, of course, all get very cross because they hate admitting that there's some fallibility, there's something wrong. But the CEO, his self-esteem, both in the market and with customers and with the employees, 70,000 employees, went up. That's what I'm talking about here. Just own up. You've made a mistake, fess up, in other words. Look people in the eye and say you're sorry, and what are you doing about it? You can't do it every time, but at least if you get it right once, people will give you another go.
Thank you so much, Larry, for that answer. So, your work emphasizes courage, clarity, and humanity. How can leaders balance empathy with accountability without sacrificing performance?
Yeah, great. Another good question. I think people often think that empathy is sort of soft. It's not soft. Empathy is understanding. Empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy is obviously somebody's had a bad accident, somebody's died. Obviously, we have sympathy. But empathy is different. It is the ability to understand, to get what people are feeling. And you acknowledge those feelings. If there's a problem, if there's a challenge, if we're asking people to do something difficult, if we're explaining the business is struggling, the best way to maintain empathy is to admit it again and ask for their support. Ask for your people's support. I mean, I've seen this done brilliantly. That you literally get in front of the workforce, or you go around and talk to your workers and say, unfortunately, we're in a difficult situation. Competition is tougher, or it could be regulations tougher, prices, whatever. I need your help. I need your help. This is to the workforce. This is the CEO. This is the senior leader. I need your help to pull together and try to make this happen. Now, you might lose 10% of people. 10% may not bother. Okay. But 90% in my experience will. If you talk to them in a human way, if you appeal to their better selves, to their better judgment, if you explain what is going on in the market, and that you explain the value of the business, or in terms of the values of the business, the purpose of the business, the brand, the heritage of it, what we're trying to do, and the vision for the future, and give some people a sense of optimism and hope. My experience is you will be able to bring people with you. They will empathize with you while you empathize with them.
Okay, thank you so much, Larry. So, you have led and advised people from different generations and cultures. What lessons have those experiences taught you about leading diverse teams?
Yeah, that's great. I'll let you turn it off. So diversity, I'm a great fan of diversity. And diversity to me delivers creativity, different thinking. I think diversity was some people get frightened by diversity. and they see it as some sort of social engineering. It's not. I mean, most families are diverse. If we have a family, maybe there's a husband, and a mother and a father. Maybe there's a son and a daughter. Maybe there are grandparents. Maybe there are cousins. There are different genders for a start. They have different personalities. Some will be quite clever at some things, some not so clever at other things. So they bring different skills, different age, of course, gender, as I've said, experiences and so forth. We need all those things. I saw this very clearly, having come out of the British Army, where I was a young army officer for 6 years, which was obviously in those days very monocultural, very white, very Anglo-Saxon, very full of history and prestige, quite hierarchical, and quite pompous, frankly. And I knew that was not for me forever. It was a great, wonderful early career, and I was thrilled and I was very lucky and so forth. But I knew that the army, it probably wasn't ambitious enough to become a general, but I knew anyway that the army wasn't for me. It was too conformed and so forth. So I did a left turn and joined what was then regarded as the world's most creative advertising agency. So I was very lucky to get a job. I was in London. There wasn't a job. I banged on the door and somehow persuaded them to give me a job. And the first moment I walked in the door, the first day I got the job, I was hit by diversity, the power of diversity. My first boss was a woman, my age, 26. She was very bright. She was a marathon runner, a very good marathon runner, so very fit. But she was tough, and she was my boss with my age. Completely different to what I'd experienced before in the army, of course. Her boss was a woman on the board of the company. So gender, of course, age, backgrounds, different skills, different experience, different personalities, and so forth. Different ethnicity, even. Even in those days, there were people of colour in the business. There were people of different sexuality in the business. Quite unusual in those days. We're talking, this is the 80s. So for me, I realised the excitement, the power of diversity. Yes, it was all about teamwork, as it had been in the army, but it was teamwork around celebrating and challenging and being challenged by different thinking. That was just brilliant. And I'm always very keen on diversity of every type, gender, of course, but every type of diversity.
All right, thank you so much, Larry. So, if someone has recently stepped into a leadership role, what is the one piece of advice that would save them years of unnecessary mistakes?
Again, sorry, I'm afraid the hearing, the audio, just I got the bit about grow and something. So just would you mind repeating that?
So, if someone has recently stepped into a leadership role, what's the one piece of advice that would save them years of unnecessary mistakes?
Yeah, Darlington, you've got some great questions. Thank you. There's no instant answer, but the best thing to do, in my view, is to go and talk to people. You're in a leadership role. Sit down with your team and one-on-one and have a conversation with each person. What's working? What could be better? And what would be there, and why are they there? Sort of why are they in the business? What's working? What could be better? What would they like this new leader to do? If we could make something change in the next 12 months, what would that be? That, I think, would be the most useful thing. I saw when a leader took over what is now the world's biggest mining company. And it was a very big company here in Australia, and it had some real difficulties about 25 years ago. And I was involved very early on in this job of mine. I got myself in there somehow, and I was working with the chairman, and they had to appoint a new CEO. They had lost a lot of money. They were about 30% down on profit. They were 30% down on profit, best thing probably to say. The value of the company was down by almost half, and they were having some real problems environmentally. There were people being killed on mine sites. It was a mess, frankly. And what had happened was they just expanded far too quickly when they were buying up other mines and other mining companies. They brought in a new CEO from America, from the United States. First time ever to bring an external CEO from outside Australia. And I got to know this guy, and I watched him. And the first thing he did, he came in to meet the board from America and confirm his appointment. He then spoke to his secretary, his EA, his executive assistant, and he said, I want a memo to go out to the top 70 70 people in this company. There were about 80,000 employees, 70 people. And he dictated the memo. I saw the memo. And basically it says was, hello, I'm whatever his name was, and I look forward to joining you on whatever date, a month out. He could come back from America and take up the role on the 1st of whatever date, December, I think. I look forward to joining you then. In the meantime, I would like you to send me a very short response to this questionnaire. Firstly, what is good about this company? What could be better? What do we need to do? And then on the next page, or the back of the page, tell me a bit about who you are, what's the role you perform, what are your responsibilities, what are your achievements, and where have you made a mistake? Now, he then put at the bottom, he said, if you have nothing to put on page 1, don't bother with page 2. Anyway, he got the responses from most of them. And so that was him getting to know his people. He then met each one of those 70 people over the coming month, somewhere around the world. He also went on the mine sites. He went to talk to the workforce, major mine sites. He went to talk to the investors, what was wrong with the company, etc., etc. So in the first 3 months, he basically went and talked, and when he went and listened, he went and met, he talked, he listened. And then he came up with a plan. And I don't think you can come up with any sort of plan until you really get your feet on the ground, until you really know what's going on. Now, it's possible, of course, you're promoted within the team. You're already in the team, and you're promoted. That's quite likely as well, of course. So you have a pretty good idea what's going well and what's not going so well. And in that case, again, I would sit down with my direct reports, if I got the role, and say, okay, I'm in charge now. What can we do better here? I want you to be on my team. What can we do better? And I think that's the best thing to do, because a lot of people struggle when they step up to a leadership position and they've been, among 6 or 7 others, and now suddenly they're in charge. They struggle with that move up above from what was their peers, if you like, what was their contemporaries. And I think the best thing to do is literally get on with it straight away and sit down with those people one-on-one and say, what can we do better? And how are we going to do this? And basically encourage those individuals that you want them on the team. And we're going to do this together. That although you're now the leader, you're still part of the team. It's like any team. We're just watching the FIFA World Cup, are we not, right now? Well, the captain on the football field, I'm not a great understanding of soccer, but I do understand one thing of sport, and that is that you don't see the captain that often. I mean, he or she's not kicking the ball all the time. Their job is to facilitate. Their job is to put the right people in the right place and encourage and give hope and obviously plan how we're going to win. But they're not there doing all the work themselves. They are delegating, they're supporting, they're encouraging, and they're part of the team on the field doing what everyone else is doing.
All right, so here is my final question for you. Looking ahead, Larry, what qualities would define the next gen of truly effective leaders?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I think we have to have the skill. So you do need to have some sort of skill, some sort of competence, capability in whatever role, whatever business, whatever type of leadership it is. If could be sport, could be theatre, could be commerce, could be technology, could be mining, as I've said, could be finance, whatever industry or type of business or team you are now the leader. You need to have some competence in that. Don't need to be the smartest person. You don't need to have be the most expert person, because your job then is to make sure you have the experts around you. The best leaders are not necessarily the best. They may be good at one particular skill, but they're not good at everything. It's impossible. But they get good people around them. So the first thing is obviously be technically good. The second is be at ease with yourself, and that's hard. To be not feeling you need to prove yourself. And I come across people throughout who have a bit of an imposter syndrome. We all do. I do. An imposter syndrome. It's quite human, quite normal. But somehow we have to get over that. And we have to accept that we've been given this job, we've been appointed by the bosses or the board, and they have the confidence in us to get on with it. They've observed us in our previous roles, they've interviewed us and tested us and so forth. And we have to just get on with it in the best way we can. But we're not going to succeed alone, as I've said already. So we need to bring people with us. So, bringing the right skills, bringing a level of being at ease with oneself, you then need to go out and meet the people, as I said, and talk to people. As I've been stressing all the way through this conversation, Darlington, it's about people. You have a clear plan, yes, but you need to talk to the people, get an understanding, the people in the business. How do they see the business? What's good about the business? What could be better, and so forth. Then you have a plan, and then you need to execute the plan, which requires clarity. What are we actually trying to do? Well, first of all, where have we come from? Who are we as a business or a team? Our strengths and so forth. What do we stand for in terms of values and purpose? The market we're in, the like. Where are we trying to get to? The ambition or vision. How will we do that? The strategy. What will that look like from operational point of view? And when do we know we're succeeding? So what are the measurements to get us along the way? Those are the most important things. We need to communicate that. And we need to regularly communicate that. One cannot over-communicate as a leader. And coming back to what I said earlier about politicians and the like, they don't communicate. They present, they tell. They don't share ideas. They don't bring us in. And most business leaders are not good at this either. They don't explain broadly what their vision is. They don't explain what's good about the business. They don't give people a sense of belonging, a sense of hope about what we're doing and why we're doing it and where we're going. So I come back to my point that the humanity aspects of leadership, coupled with clarity about who we are and where we're going, they are the two foundations, clarity and humanity, of any business and of any leader's perspective. They need to look through these two lenses, clarity and humanity.
All right, Larry, thank you so much. Once again, thank you for sharing your perspective and your insights. This has been a fascinating conversation on what leadership really demands in today's world. Thank you for sharing your experience and practical wisdom with me and my audience. So if our listeners would like to learn more about your work, connect with you, or get a copy of your latest book, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, thank you, Darlington, and thank your listeners. The website is www.robertsonburns.com. And the book, Why Listen to, Work With, and Follow You, is available on Amazon in print, audio, and ebook, of course.
Once again, I really appreciate you for coming, and thank you for making this episode a very special episode for me and my audience.
Well, thank you, Darlington, and thank your listeners.